The MON CALAMARI. These amphibious aliens share their homeworld with another race, the QUARREN, and have a reputation as both industrious ship designers and impressive pilots. They seem very much at home with the concepts of space travel, but what makes them so? Thanks for watching the Cultural Index, and this episode we'll be digging into the watery home of this race and their culture. One thing I personally like is when a science fiction race has its own name for its homeworld, and the MON CALAMARI sphere has several. To the galaxy it is Mon Cala, or Mon Calamarian, the name's roots being obvious, likewise with the title Quarrenese, from the quarren species who share its oceanic depths, but to both species it is known as DAC, located in the Outer Rim. Despite Imperial propaganda, the MON CALAMARI have been a spacefaring race for many years. DAC is mostly ocean, but has several island chains, and it was on one of these island chains that the MON CALAMARI evolved. As such, the Makubuto Islands are considered sacred and treated with a great deal of respect. The quarren species, meanwhile, developed in the depths of the Great Seas. This early divide among the people was a persistent theme throughout their history, but numerous attempts to bridge the gap are often repeated. Evolving on land, but with an abundance of ocean life, meant that the MON CALAMARI developed technology and industry faster than the quarrens, allowing them to cultivate much of the natural foods that the sea provided, pioneering in aquaculture with vast underwater kelp farms and fishing. DAC, however, was a poor source for metals, and as such they would have had to have made do with what little they could mine, and carefully cultivating wood to be used as the primary construction resource. However, their planet was very rich in coral structures in the shallow waters, and as such it seemed obvious to make use of these natural constructs, leading to several cities being developed alongside the gigantic formations. Biologically, the MON CALAMARI are evolved for the shallow waters of their homeworld. Their eyes see in a slightly different spectrum of light to allow for sight in the water and to make up for their binary star's light. They can breathe water in an emergency, however do find the experience rather uncomfortable, and young MON CALAMARI have been known to panic at the experience and even drown. To this end, most prefer to utilise artificial means of underwater respiration, such as the organically bioengineered gill. Their skin tones vary from regional adaptation, and they have barbels on their chin which grow with age. The MON CALAMARI have the reputation of deep analytical thinkers, but paired with a species-wide creativity that lent itself well to all sorts of innovations in the arts, alongside technological developments. This proficiency for creative thought often allowed the MON CALAMARI to come up with creative solutions to large problems. In the year 4500 BBY, the Quarren and the MON CALAMARI went to war, the biggest in their history. The conflict resolved in the MON CALAMARI's favour due to their more advanced technology. However, it was in the aftermath that we see the MON CALAMARI's tactical ingenuity play out in a strange fashion. To ensure that a war between their people never happened again, they kidnapped around 100 Quarren children and raised them immersed in their own culture. When the children were grown, they were released back to the Quarren people, only to enact a takeover and replace the ruling sections. Now, ethical or not, indoctrination or ingenious, the results were as intended, and a lasting peace was established between the peoples, and they entered into a golden age of cooperation. Often this peace was tense or threatened to dissolve, but through the efforts of both species, it endured. It was during this time that many of their great cities formed, such as the planetary capital, simply known as Coral City, and they were built both on the surface and underwater. With the relative rareness of mineral ores, they were mined wherever they were found, even at the bottom of a deep-sea trench, such as Sargalva. City construction continues on DAC well into post-Yavin years by both its resident inhabitants. Cities such as Foam Wonder and the Crystal Reef, Foam Wonder being a trade hub for galactic commerce, and the Crystal Reef a floating city resort on the northern oceans. Both of these examples are centres for including other species in DAC's societies, and to be expected of a culture always seeking to expand and prosper. The MON CALAMARI legends told of space as another ocean, with the stars being islands sitting in its inky depths. This comparison speaks volumes of its makers. After all, they were at home in the oceans of DAC. Whether by boat or by fin, they could traverse their planet, so why not the depths above them? Again, this shows their mixture of logic and creativity, practicality, and dreams fueled by curiosity. It wasn't long before the first interstellar ships were invented to explore their own solar system, and soon after, QVisa invented the first hyperdrive, giving them access to that grand ocean they'd always dreamed of. Their first interstellar colonies were Matan and Ruisto, established in the year 4200 BBY. With their inclusion as an interstellar race, they gained a lot from trade and commerce, and in turn had plenty to offer, exporting seafoods and much of their arts. In return, they were able to obtain materials that they had been short of before, primarily metals. This led to another burst of development, more cities, new ship designs, and greater prosperity for their people. In fact, MON CALAMARI ships were regarded as some of the best in the galaxy, with their fluid organic designs, and every vessel was said to have been crafted by hand. This meant that despite following schematics, every ship ended up slightly unique with several patch jobs. However, this is not to say that the ships were hodgepodge or haphazardly put together like some Corellian freighter. The creativity and care with which MON CALAMARI put into any project ensured that the vessel ended up being treated as a mixture of art and science. This level of dedication to a construction was true on every level of their culture and a byproduct of their commitment to a task or cause. Dedication was a well-known facet of their species, and one respected by many. If a job's worth doing, it's worth asking a MON CALAMARI to do it. Generally, however, they disliked dishonesty or unlawful behaviour, as it was often seen as counterproductive to their society and often exhibited disdain for underhanded tactics and criminal behaviour. This changed somewhat, however, with the rise of the Galactic Empire. A story for another time, but the Empire eventually subjugated Mon Cala with the intent to force its populace into fleet construction for them. However, the defining traits of the Mon Calamari coalesced into a decisive course of action. Their sense of lawful obligation, their dedication to their creative ingenuity, all came together as they became one of the few outspoken supporters of the Rebel Alliance. They taught themselves how to prosper as a people, but it was the crucible of the Empire that turned them into soldiers, tacticians, admirals. Having tamed the oceans of Dak, the Mon Calamari found the experience of piloting capital ships in space very familiar, even enjoyable. As said, they have fought in wars before, and several families had long military histories of which they were proud, serving in the interests of their monarchy. The monarch of Dak would have the responsibility of making decisions based on the betterment of all the planet's citizens, and although the position was hereditary, it did require endorsement from several political parties, including the Quarren chieftains, or risk another civil war. Being the surface species of Dak, the Mon Calamari are the ones more often seen in galactic affairs, with their planet often being called Mon Cala, and the monarchy being traditionally Mon Calamari bloodlines. With all the focus on them, it's no wonder that the Quarren eventually did enter into another civil war during the Clone Wars. However, this was fueled by CIS involvement and a relatively short-lived affair. The Mon Calamari are generally well respected as a people due to their adherence to traits often considered good and their dedication to a cause, though this can translate into a sense of stubbornness. Most Mon Calamari maintain the philosophies of the needs of the many and an innate desire to explore and expand as a people and a society. They willingly share their arts with others, such as their opera, theatre, clothing and ship design, and in return prosper from galactic trade, using that to bolster their own cultural development. An idealistic people who maintain a curious streak, their species seems to lack much in the way of religion. This makes sense. As a species possessed of a pioneering spirit, it's likely that they found the idea of believing in something without proof, faith, an odd concept, preferring to analyse, create and explore their way to understanding. This includes force-sensitive individuals who are afforded no special status in their society, as the force is a tangible force that can be observed. One thing is for certain, the Mon Calamari are a very prominent race in the Star Wars universe, and remain relevant as a species due to their continual development in industry, science and the arts, always aligning themselves as a species by their own moral compass. Once they have a cause or task in mind, They are dedicated to its resolution in whatever form that takes. Thanks for listening to this index. The Mon Calamari seems to be a fan favourite, and it seems for good reason. A lot of their history is now legend material, but some of it hasn't exactly been contradicted, and it adds more flavour to them. As a species, I mean flavour, not as a dish. The choices for next video are possibly either the Cylons of Battlestar Galactica, or perhaps the Okumpa of Star Trek. Thanks for watching again, and until next time, I've been Rick. Goodbye.